Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in the history of podcasts. My name is Bryan Neal.
My name is Bill Caskey.
We are here every week for your listening enjoyment. If you watch us on YouTube, you'll see that Bill is dressed very nicely today. Looks great in the studio. I am hunkered down in my basement. I have kind of a work-from-home day, which is good.
I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to level up my wardrobe just a little.
That's not all right. That's good.
Oh, I went out and got a $16 Amazon Essentials button down, which I like their button downs, to be honest with you. Because they're two finger button downs versus three. I don't like the wide.
Yes.
It looks like I belong in a leisure suit from the 1980s.
No, it looks really good. And I'm repping a hat from our good friend.
Oh, yeah.
Read that. Tay Bronson, local singer-songwriter here in Indianapolis that Bill and I both happen to know Tay. Don't know that Tay's a listener, but now we'll have to tell him he's.
Well, we're going to try to get some of his music on. I used to see him at Starbucks, and he has a little, what would you say the style? A little bluegrass, a little country.
A little country storyteller, songwriter.
Yeah.
Songs about his life, his family, growing up in Indiana kind of guy. Real salt of the earth, just a good human being and a really good singer-songwriter. And a guy that just, he just plays music on the side, I think. I don't think it's his full-time job, is it? I don't think.
No, I think he works for an audio sound engineering or something. You remember Scott Nelson?
Of course.
Did you know he's with his band?
Oh, no. Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Because I went to the concert and I saw a guy playing the bass, and I'm like, God, that would pass for a second for Scott Nelson, but he's lost weight. He looks great. And afterwards, I'm like, it is you. And Scott was a client of ours for a long time, but musician. All right. The only story I have, you ever had pneumonia?
I have not. Not that I know of. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, you would know it. And I don't think it's something that just goes away. It's almost like you have to treat it in some way. But I started getting a cough about a month ago. And every time I would breathe, it would get that tickle and that wheeze and that cough. And oh my God. So finally I was like, if this doesn't get better, I got to go. So I went, and she says, "Oh, you got walking pneumonia or pneumonia." Walking pneumonia always sounds like Walking Dead. It's like,
well, and what's the opposite of walking?
I don't know.
Laying down pneumonia? Is it prone pneumonia?
It used to be that with pneumonia, they would say, "Oh, go home and rest. Don't do anything that kind of gets that bile or whatever." But I asked her, I said, what should I do? She goes, just carry on activities. Just don't be around people. You're not all that contagious. And within 3 days of, Z-Pack, you're fine, or you're better, a lot better. But oh my gosh.
Right. Not all that contagious is an interesting phrase to me.
That's what she told me. I know.
It's pretty binary. You either are or you're not. I'd love a medical professional to help me and Bill, help Bill and me decide.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill and
I think what she meant was, if you're like breathing on each other and swapping, moist, then it probably is. But if you're just in the same room, it's not an aerosol kind of thing.
So you didn't wear a mask?
I wore a mask over to babysit my 18-month-old granddaughter, Clara's daughter, because I was in the throes of that. And I'd been to the doctor actually today. That's good. And it freaked her out, so I took it off. Plus, I couldn't breathe.
It freaked your granddaughter.
Her immune system is probably better anyway. So.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, finally, episode 3. We've talked about where we are, taking inventory. We've decided where we're going. Very vivid imagery there. And now we're going to talk about how to get there.
This has been a good series, man. I think this was a great idea on my part. I'm just kidding.
It is.
Because we both, Bryan brought up, we should do a series, because sometimes series, we get a chance to get into the detail a little bit more than just flying through it in a 15-minute podcast. And then we talked about what time of year is it. It's a good time to reflect, to look at where you are, where you're going. So as he said, we're going to talk today, talk today about how do we get to this destination that we've just been vivid about imagining. So.
What do you say there? Okay. Let's start with the how.
Okay. Since that's the title of the episode, that's a good place.
Just like I couldn't remember my favorite Beach Boys song. You ever get brain overload like that?
Oh.
In periods of time. I'm in one of those. I'm just in one of those modes where just stuff's not clear. I got too much going on in my head. Got to filter some of it out. The how part. This I'm going to steal from our last episode. And I talked about this a little bit, I think. your how should be vivid like your where. Where are you going? It should be vivid like that. The how. You should be very, very crystal clear. And the first little tool I'll mention, old cliche corporate tool called start, stop, continue. Start, stop, continue. This is the how exercise. It really takes these things and puts them into a behavioral sense that says, okay, as I look forward, how am I going to achieve these vivid goals I just wrote down for myself? What am I going to have to start doing that I'm not doing? What am I going to have to stop doing that I've been doing? I need to quit. And what do I need to continue doing? And there'll be little lists in each of those columns of start, stop, continue that are behavioral by their nature.
What filter do I use to determine whether I start, stop, or continue? Because I've got to pass. So if I'm making 100 cold calls a day, what filter do I pass that through to determine start, stop, or keep going?
Yeah. I would go 2 episodes back and I would say, we did an analysis. And if you listen to our episode 2 episodes ago about when we did the reflection back of where we are, we said, examine how you got, used the word composition. So what I would do, Bill, is just what you're saying, is I would go back and say, okay, I go back to my episode 1, my first page of my assessment said, gosh, I got all these things and I got none of them through cold calling. So, but I make 100 cold calls a day. Not one deal came out good at it. So there's an answer. Like maybe I should stop doing that. It's not working. That's you got to tie all these things together. That's my take on that one.
No, I like that. Here's a thought I had. This is going to be a thought that I would not have had a year ago. When you're determining the how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be, use AI. Go to, we use Claude.ai, or you can use Chat. There's a lot of them. Perplexity, there's a lot of them. But put into the instruction, here's where I am currently. I'm currently at this income level. Here's where I'm going. Be vivid with your explanation. I'm in the business of selling, dental supplies. Yep. And then ask it to come up with a 10-part framework on how should I think about getting to that destination. You will be shocked. You will be. And we should do a whole episode or series on AI. We're starting to use it more and more. It's kind of scary, and it's kind of like, oh, this is good. It's really good. Awesome. But the first place I would go for something like that is not Google or to sit in a dark room for 6 nights trying to figure it out. I would go and just start the process. Have AI help you, because it's going to come up with things that you never thought about.
Yes.
They weren't even on your radar. Like, well, wait a minute. that alone would get me to.
Yes.
So use the tools, use the technology. I know people are reluctant to do it. I'm not sure why anymore. How much technology have we adopted, and now we're going to be resistant to artificial intelligence? Come on. So that's a place I would begin.
That's fantastic. And just, same, we are going all in with ChatGPT. The other thing you can do, and I'll add on Bill's thing that people just don't think about this. You sort of Google something, then you do the work. So people Google things, then you do the work. Google does the first hit, but then you do all the other work. ChatGPT does all the work for you. Yeah. You just keep asking it, keep pushing back on it. Say, be more specific. Tell me something. I like answer number 2. I'm struggling with answer number 3. Find a different way to say that. Just keep talking to it. And it's unbelievable what it comes up with. Unbelievable. My Indiana Hoosiers are really good at football this year. I'm so excited. I went down to the game, and College Game Day, a big program that ESPN was on campus for the first time ever. And people make signs for this thing. So I was trying to think of a sign, and I'm like, I'm going to just ask ChatGPT. And I got in this conversation with ChatGPT, and the first signs were very just like silly, like Indiana football is really good.
Exactly.
Like, and I just kept pushing it. And we got to some really clever, like Signetti can beat Saban in tic-tac-toe. You know what I mean? Just like a word that, and it's a old backstory of those two playing tic-tac. It's like, that's really clever. So just an endorsement there, and getting a conversation with ChatGPT.
You really have to treat it like an assistant, because it is. Some of my clients were laughing at me the other day because I showed them some of my prompts, and I always start every prompt with, "Hey, I need some help on something." And it comes back and says, hey, Bill, I'm here to help you. Anything you need, just tell me what you need. And then I always thank it at the end. Hey, thank you. That was awesome. I may come back to you later. And then it comes back and says, oh, you're welcome, Bill. You start to develop a little relationship, and it's not weird. It's just, you got to treat it that way. And I don't know if it helps, but we're getting some amazing results. We don't use chat. We use Claude.ai, which is we like Claude only because it allows you to create projects and assistants. And so if I want to, let's think about doing a whole episode on that.
So use ChatGPT, do a start, stop, continue. That's narrowing in on your how. And then the scheduling, back to the calendar thing. This is part of the how. I'm a big fan. So I use Dan Sullivan's entrepreneurial time system, which includes focus, free, and buffer days. Focus days are hard work days, delivery days. Buffer days are when I'm planning, recording podcasts, things like that. Free days are 24-hour free periods. Put your free days on your calendar for 2025 now. That's the first step. And what most people do is they start to plan their travel. Well, I'm going to travel to Boston the first week of January. I'm going to be in Tucson and then they travel to the trade shows and they start to fill their stuff up with a bunch of stuff, and there's no time for breaks. And then they get so burnt out. So try that backwards this year. Try to plan time for both free days, and then before that, or right after that, then do your buffer days next. So these are where we're planning away from work planning days, but we're working. So you're not delivering work. You're going to take no sales calls on these days. You're going to coffee shop stuff. You're going to listen to podcasts. You might record your podcast. Those are buffer days. And try to designate days. That's a how to get to where you're going next year. And that leaves space for some of these other activities. Like, when am I going to use ChatGPT? We'll just put a buffer day on there. And that's when I do my ChatGPT work or my Claude. So
that's really good. And I'm familiar with Sullivan's time system. I don't use it, but I think it's really good. The lesson I learned from that is that sometimes when we're in the how mode, how are you going to get from where you are to where you want to go? We tend to fill it with actions. Like, I got to make, I got to appear on 75 podcasts, or I've got to send out 40,000 emails over the year. We immediately go to actions. And what you're saying is the actions will take care of themselves if your mind is right. If you're building the foundation with buffer days and free days, and you're clear of thought, you're clear of all the baggage and garbage that sometimes stacks up, then our mind will know exactly what to do and how to get there. But if we're clogged up because we're burnt out and we're beating ourselves up and we're judging everybody and thing around, then we're not going to be clear enough to find the hows that are really going to work.
That's right.
Like,
create healthy space for yourself, for the
how to emerge.
Yes, how to emerge part. Yes, and it's just blocking days with types of activities. That's to me that's the tactical side. It's really, really helpful.
So as you're building this bridge from where you are to where you want to be, part of that bridge is going to be taken up with buffer days, how you organize your time, how you care for yourself. I'm not talking about spa days. I'm talking about, do you spend time in meditation? Do you write things down? Do you use AI? And then part of the bridge might be actions, like hard hitting actions, making a certain number of calls, reaching out to 5 strategic partners a month, direct messaging 1,000 people a month on LinkedIn with a video, or whatever those things are. Then now you're building a real solid bridge to the destination.
Yes. Don't let your territory and your goals run your life. That's what I think happens with people. Your territory and your chase of the goal runs your life. And it's not fulfilling then you're running around, and you might even be the number 1, number 2 person, but it's just, you're so toast at the end. It's not fun. You be in charge of it.
Yeah. But I think as you get more vivid and you start to understand the how, and the how starts to emerge from some of this other foundational work, you're going to have an awesome year next year. And sometimes if the how becomes too overwhelming, It's like, oh, the how is like, I got to make 10 calls and do this and do that. If it seems overwhelming, just look at it again. There's probably a way to pare it down and say, you know what, if I just did these 2 things and did them better, I don't need to do these other 7. So it's all part of the process. That's what I was getting to. It's all part of the process.
And my last thought is that you got to be able to pivot your behavior and your plan midstream. It's okay. If you had plans to do something and something pops up, it pops up, and let it be. And just don't fight that so much. Like, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and I've got to do that. Like, no, you don't. There's very, very little in the world you have to do.
That's right.
Very, very little that you have to do.
And when you operate from the clock is ticking, that you don't have unlimited time on the planet. And so if your 7-year-old daughter says, Daddy, I want to go get an ice cream cone, and you're like, but I've got to make cold calls. You say, cold calls can wait. Let's go, hon. Let's go, darling. Where are we going? Where are we going? Let's do that. And then let's go to a movie, and then let's have some popcorn, and then let's get sick. So
that's what you do. If you can't, you got to do mask. You got to wear a mask to your granddaughter.
And wear a mask. Yeah, that's right.
All
right.
Okay, if you haven't joined the Insider program, join the Insider program. It's an awesome program. It's the best bang for the buck you can get. Live coaching with Bill, first Friday of every month. Business planning session coming up very shortly. Maybe after this episode.
No, it'll be before. We're still before the actual planning session. So go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. You can sign up there. You'll get a big discount from what the general public will pay. We'd love to have you in it. It was a good program. Okay.
Got a great way to start the year. So, all right, that's it. 3-part series over. Talk to you next time. Bye.